Okay, let's discuss this young man with the short, I think black short pants, if I saw it right, navy blue shirt, right-handed hitter. Kind of looked like he had very little stride, but he did the big kind of rhythmic thing like this, and his arm was flapping. One I commented about, well, he was right-handed, and so I'm going to do it like a mirror. So I'm left-handed here. I'm going to do it left-handed, but you saw him, reaching back. You could see his back legs. He has solid foundation, so that was a good thing. He was getting a weight shift into the ball, another good thing. He wasn't kicking out his back foot or opening his hips. He was letting his hips come around with his core, another good thing. So you can see some great things, but one thing a hitter won't do is he won't make an adjustment that he doesn't feel himself. And I think as coaches, we have to be very mindful. I remember there were times when my coaches would see something and they'd say, okay, move your elbow to there. And I would think in my mind, as crazy as it is, I would think, okay, then what are all the hundreds of millions of other little tiny movements that I'm going to do? Unless you can do a map of every other thing that I got to do, and then can give me the feeling that I'm supposed to expect, I have to do what I feel. I can't do what you're telling me to do, because from wherever you've moved my hands or wherever, I don't feel it. And if I don't feel it, I can't do it. The bottom line, if he can't feel something, he can't do it. So that's what the absolutes are for. The foundation that runs around our awareness, which is at the top, at the peak of the pyramid. The foundation that supports our ability to cope with the variables and to reduce the variables. First is your mechanics, and then your absolutes, the timing and the plan. And as far as the absolutes are concerned, you have to have good mechanics, but the absolutes kind of draw a map for what you want to do so that you can actually go and execute and automate any movement that you're not familiar with. So for example, if someone's really used to going like this, about kind of having a nose stride, another thing you want to notice, the young man, he doesn't move his hips back, which is great. That's a good thing. Because for what is right now a really, he has to get going early, which is a longer timeline, it's a longer physical timeline. Going like that, he has to get going earlier, which, like I've shared in many examples, you don't want to go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You want to go 9, 10. Or it'd probably be better for that kid if he just went, wherever his hands were. 9, 10. Now, one thing in my case, one of the reasons why that kind of thing wouldn't happen, that quick of an adjustment, is the timing. If you have a certain amount of, your timeline sets itself based on success or failure. So if you're struggling, you just keep fine-tuning your mechanics until it either speeds up or slows down. Problem is, if there's ever any variation in the time, then you have to go back and adjust your mechanics. Instead of reading the ball, reading the speed in the moment, and having a very good ability to adjust to the time, you're actually cranking up your mechanics or stretching them out. And so it's not really an efficient way of doing it, but it's the way that everyone goes about it at first. Except when they're in a situation where they're comfortable with their mechanics. And once you get comfortable with your mechanics, then you go to the business of just reading the ball and being aware and syncing up the pitch. An example of that is when you're hot. Another example is hitting soft toss. When you're hitting soft toss, you can pick any number of swings that you've done that have given you success over the years. And they just seem to work because your mind will make a shortcut. It's like that example of, let's say, we used to think that outfielders, I'm rabbit trailing just a snip here, but we used to think that, outfielders used to, all the calculus would be going on in your mind when you get a fly ball, okay? You have to calculate the trajectory and the speed and the acceleration off the bat and all that kind of stuff. to know where the ball's going to land, and then our brains do this automatically. So it's really doing a lot of calculus. Well, really, our brains are much more efficient than that. Think of a porthole on a ship, and you're looking out a porthole, okay? Now, pretend you're playing center field and you're going to run to right field. So I'm running to right field. So I know, and I'm going to catch the ball that right field, left field, and I'm going to catch the ball that the left fielder should catch. So, ball's hit off the bat, I go start running toward the left fielder. Okay, so I'm looking through the porthole. If the ball keeps centered on the porthole, I just keep running the way I'm going. If the ball starts coming up like this, then I know I'm underrunning it, right? So I have to back up. I have to follow the ball in the porthole. If the ball starts to lower, well, then I know I need to come in. So it's about kind of keeping it centered in the porthole. It's a very simple way. It's perspective, all right? Well, with hitting, our minds come up with very simple ways of making adjustments, and most of them we're very unaware of what we do, of what our minds are doing. That's why it begs us to examine. You know, we have to identify what's going on, and then once we do that, then we can figure out, you know, what the variables are, and once we do that, then we can execute what we need to do by automating. We automate from our rehearsals. We figure out what's wrong. We find a drill, like this young man, he's doing this kind of move like this, and his arm's going like that. How are you going to get a kid who likes to do that, who feels this as his swing? You have to get to the motivation. So you know what? Let's begin there. Someone who's doing this and is feeling his arm go like that. It's not just momentum. That's one thing, but we're going to fix it all as one. Okay? If you were to grab a bat in one hand, all right, and get ready to throw or get ready to hit a ball, first of all, you would never go like that and hit it. So that would be one of the first drills that you get him to do, is actually, or you can swing the Black Ninja. What I love about it is that you can swing at it, or swing like you're just swinging the bat. Just hit the wall there. Okay, let's go again. All right, notice that my hand finishes way down low here. Okay, now, just like throwing, hitting, for the levers to fire in sequence, you need an energy source. You need a power source. And the first energy source or power source comes from our transfer. The swing doesn't begin till we transfer. And if we try to begin before our transfer, it's like when guys have a hitch and they're throwing. If you try to gather your torque before your transfer, you're going to end up with a hitch. You know, guys that end up kind of doing weird stuff, or, you know, do little extra things down here. They'll do it because once you get to, like when you're throwing, once you get to there and your arm or your elbow has rotated, there won't be any more hitches because you have enough energy to bring your arm through. But if you try to get the energy out of sequence, you have a problem. Same with hitting. If you try to get the energy here, or if you're trying to get ready to swing and the guy's throwing real hard and it's getting by you, and you're going, you know, trying to figure out how to get something going instead of relaxing. I have no urge at all when I hit, later in my career. I had no urge at all to try to get something going. That's a myth. That's a feeling that is expressed in a way of it's kind of like a panic feel because you don't feel or understand where the energy is going to come from. It's like, well, where, you know, I'm getting something going. Well, you don't need something from here to get you going. Well, why not? Because if my first move is there and I line up my levers, my torque never really happens until right there, until the bat begins to lay down. Right there's my torque. Right just before the barrel starts to lay down, I have my approach. That's why you have to keep the bat in the approach angle for so long. And that's why the major league hitter, the advanced hitter, focuses on approach, because everything in your approach, you're holding energy in the system. That's why you can carry a heavy bat through the zone for as long as you can. A baseball thrown 90 miles an hour, by the time it's released, is 60 pounds of torque. Imagine what the 32 ounce wooden bat weighs, a couple hundred. I haven't done the research on it, but it's hundreds of pounds. So if it's hundreds of pounds that you're swinging against, that wants to pull you away or out of the circle, you have to realize it needs a lot of support, right? So what happens is you want to hold it. So you hold it upright, you hold the barrel upright. If it begins flat, it always ends up, usually, the majority of hitters, no matter where they are, at some point they get to here. This seems to be a starting point for the barrel to begin its travel into the shoulder slot. It goes this way. It doesn't go flat square this way. It goes this way, that way, and then as you're rotating it, it's this way. So it is kind of like a combination here, but it's not forced. You don't place it there. What it is that your momentum, sure, you hold the barrel in its approach angle and you try to keep it in its approach angle as long as possible. But at some point you let the barrel go. So as you let the barrel go, the barrel starts to fall in the direction opposite of your inertia. And that's why it gets back here, and when you start rotating, it gets to here, and then eventually it holds an angle that you can keep through the zone, okay? So in this case, with the young man going like this, first he needs to acknowledge or understand that you don't get your power from here, because he already has a no stride, really. So he's not getting any power or a lot of power from his weight shift, though he is, but it's very time sensitive. So because he doesn't have a lot of leg movement, he can get some power from his legs, but it's only going to be that split second right there when I shift my weight. There's no riding. There's no riding out. It's literally that one split second, which gives him a real short timeline potentially, which is a good thing, but it doesn't allow him to continue so that he doesn't quit on the ball. Later I'm going to show you a video of Jim Leyritz at the Yankees Red Sox Legends game. Brian Layton and I were there, and I was showing him, I was pointing out how Jim's first round, and I don't know if we caught his first round but on video, but his first round he was going all the way and leaking, okay? He was standing here and totally leaking, but it's because no major leaguer in their right mind would ever quit on a ball in batting practice. And quitting is quitting, and what quitting means is that you quit your transfer, your weight into the ball, because then all it would be is a flick of your arms, or just kind of like a dead swing, just an arm swing, a slap. What you want to do is you want to get your weight into the ball through the barrel, and the way you do that is you're shifting while you're hitting it. And that's part of timing, because your timing is transferring on time. And a good definition of timing is transferring on time. If you can transfer on time while you're shifting your weight, not the smooth riding part, but the commitment part of the stride, if you transfer on time, your timing is going to be good. And the swing is initiated with the transfer, and then everything else releases. Like if I was going to throw this thing as far as I could, I'd shift and block. I'd shift, and right at the block, I'd throw the bat, and I wouldn't even know, I really wouldn't have a lot of sensation of throwing it, other than I would be aware of it. But it would happen so violently, so smoothly, with such energy that relates to the energy of the transfer, I wouldn't be holding back of it from anything, okay? So I think I've worn that out, that inertia is so important in order to get the bat falling in the zone, and I gave you a lot of examples of how it works and why guys hold their approach so long, and that the barrel, it drops into the zone because you just kind of release control of the barrel for that split second, and then it begins to fall. When it begins to fall, here's the point. When it begins to fall, at that point, when it reaches a certain point, it builds the maximum, the torque that you're going to actually use in your swing. So when the barrel drops, that's when you get the torque to actually swing the bat and to get a lot of bat speed that has come from your transfer and your core firing. That's when it all happens, when the barrel drops, boom. So if I were to throw this or swing my bat, you're not going to be able to hear this probably, but if I drop my barrel here, I'm going to hear a swish right here. Okay, I'm going to hear it. So if I go like this and then drop the barrel there, all right, if I drop the barrel here, I hear a swish over there. If I drop the barrel here like it's a ball right at me, I'm going to hear it there. So I come here, I hold my approach, hold it, and then drop the barrel. I'm going to feel so here's the maximum place where you feel your torque. Okay, so the point being is that first you acknowledge why. And you think, well, that's thinking. Well, no, it's not if you identify why and then put yourself to work in fixing it. Because we all want to know why we're doing something. We don't want to go down a rabbit hole and get lost. But if we know why, then we'll have the motivation to do the drills and to do the work. Second is we practice with a black ninja would be great, because then you're working on your movements. Just pretend you're throwing a ball up and you finish right down here, right where you pronate. It's going to finish where your arm wants to finish supernaturally. It doesn't want to do this. That's unnatural. This is unnatural, okay? It's natural to come here. So you do what's natural. Then you take a regular bat, you choke up, and you throw it up. The biggest thing is you would never do that. You would never do that. It wouldn't feel right. As a matter of fact, you would know with one arm, if you get rid of some of the levers, if you do this with one arm, you would feel that any separation from your body, you're going to lose energy. You would feel that unless you threw it up and held this angle as you shifted to bring energy into the system, that's the only way it's going to work. And then as soon as you rotate your elbow through, the barrel begins to drop, and that's your torque. So that's when it begins to torque. The elbow's rotating in front of your body, okay? Some guys have a little bit more of a push action, and you know, there's a balance there. I mean, most guys that I know, you're going to get better arm extension if your elbows are out front, you know, and they're clear, than if you're here, you know, if you do a complete, you know, one of these. And a lot of times I would try to feel a push, because that's the shortest feel. It's just like a jab versus a haymaker. I wanted to swing as a jab, so in my mind's eye, I would think a punch, okay? Yet I knew that the punch would translate into something more. As I'm thinking punch, then when I'm going through my timing, as I transfer and my core starts to fire, this little punch is going to turn into a, you know, everything's just going to fly. It's going to turn into a rotary thing where your core rotates around a point, and then this gets thrown, not punched, not pushed. It gets whipped and thrown. So experiencing the bat one-handed, and for the express purpose of overcoming this, because you understand that you don't have any inertia, so you're actually reaching for more. He feels like if he doesn't do this, that he doesn't have enough energy, nor does he have the timing to coordinate the arm action and his quick, short transfer of weight. And he probably can't coordinate it real well. So, you know, that's why if you're going to do a no stride, you still need to stride. The ride is the part where you're under control. Now, I'm going to lengthen it and explain this. The ride is when you're on your backside going forward. You're on your backside going forward, under control. And when you get to a point where you can't control it anymore, like if I just went like that and just fell like a tree, well, then my ride is like maybe 5% of my whole ride and stride. But if I want to draw it out more, I can bring my knee in a little bit and I go up off of my heel and try to support my weight a lot longer. And I call this the ride, and that's what guys do. You see guys do that unless the pitcher is absolutely just throwing severe gas. You know, most guys will ride a little bit, you know, because that way, no matter where I go, my weight ends up right here. See, it ends up in the middle, even though it's shifting. It's a dynamic shift. It's not, my weight's not really here. It's shifting this way. Okay. when I'm going to hit it, and then it returns as I straighten out. Okay, so if that's how it works, so the ride is the portion where you're under control, and the stride is when you commit, when you let it go. In this case, in a no stride situation, you have your ride, because here's your ride, just kind of going like that. That's all ride, because you're under control. You're not committing to a transfer. You're not falling. You're not free falling anywhere. So what you do, you're not free falling like the tall and fall drill, right? Okay, so what you do is you fall straight down. Now, old timers, including myself, we did either a high leg kick. Okay, that's a ride and stride. Okay, it's ride and then stride when you commit. Or a low leg kick, which is probably 95% of the great hitters of all time do a low leg kick. Sometimes they may have mixed in a little bit of high leg, but it's rare because the low leg kick is you wait until the release happens, right at release. Now you may get this going early, but right at release, it's on the ground still. Kind of like if you're running a race, on your mark, get set, you know when it's going to be go. On your mark, get set, go. And so you're still on the ground, which gives you control. So, here he goes, and then it's, you raise it all the way to the top, right at release. So and then you go, okay? So it's here, and then you go. You have more control that way. But you have a portion that you're falling under control, yet you're committing. So it's a fall that's a commitment of inertia. Okay. The third way hitters would do is a no stride. But everyone knows that in a no stride, you leak or you risk leaking. So if I'm here and I want to, swing, I have to shift real hard. So if I shift real hard, I'm going to end up here. I'm going to squeeze out like a watermelon pit. So I have to, or seed. So I have to counteract it by going down. Okay. And so what you do is you get your stride, the ride and stride. You get the stride by doing a free fall straight down. And then interrupting that free fall will be a quick stride into your front side or a push off from your back side when it's time to actually swing. So if this young man would learn this, where he's going and getting ready and he starts to fall, and that will get himself going. So he can start a little taller, he can do whatever he's got to do, he can start to fall. I can't do this, gonna kill my knees. Fall, and then you recover. I can't really show it to you, but you do just a little fall, and that gives the ball time to get to its spot. So you end up here, go release, you lift your toe, release, let it travel, release, and then, I don't know, you have to judge when it's time to commit. So you let go and start to fall, and then you just transfer into it real quick, and then of course, you immediately have to return. But you notice this will straighten out for a split second, and then come back, so you end up getting lower, and you don't leak out the top. Okay, so I'm not talking about ride and stride today, so if that was a rushed version, it is. I will admit, that was a very rushed, scattered version of the ride and stride, and very incomplete. So what I'm saying is trying to get rid of his urges to get extra energy doing that, okay? So all in one, we can fix the arm flap, we can fix his issue going. Another issue I haven't brought up yet is his angle is way too sharp coming into the zone, because he's up here and then he comes down like that. Well, how is his bat going to get behind his body flat? Because the bat basically flattens out. I don't care where you are. I don't care even if you're Gary Sheffield here, and then it came right behind your body and flattens out on plane, even on a high pitch. Even if it flattens out here. Okay, so it's in the zone all this time. Okay, as you know, you don't want it in the zone for too long, but you want to get it in the zone long enough so it can start to create a level plane or a flat plane. Flat can be any angle. Okay, the reason why I use flat instead of level swing is it's not always level, but it's flat, and it's not doing a big U up in the sky. Okay, so it's flat in the sense that it's going to match our shoulder angle, our core angle, and our hip angle. All right, so when you come up like this, you come bring your hands in like that a little bit, and then you drop the barrel half, splitting your body. So if you don't drop the barrel back here, okay, if you don't drop the barrel right here, and this can be a very short swing, you come up and you just drop the barrel, boom, and you're on plane. But if you try to drop the barrel on the side of you, you're going to be in and out of the zone way too quick. So that's another reason why you want to bring your elbow down a little bit, but like I said, he's got to feel it. So another way that you can do is have him throw the black ninjas. Have him try to throw them flat, end over end like this, kind of like that example where I had Forgatch throwing with his front hand and throwing the bat and hitting the ball off the tee. Well, in the same sense, try to throw a bat flat to the ground in a sense where it's kind of like, okay, I can hit it here, I can hit it out there, and I'm going to be on plane. I'm not going to be in and out, right? You can't throw the bat this way and have it go into the ground and then hope to hit the ball. That's not going to create the backspin that you want. That's going to cut the ball. You don't want to cut it. You want to be coming down. You just want to be going on plane and hitting the bottom of the ball. So it's going on the same plane that the ball's coming in on almost, or close to it, and you just happen to graze the bottom of it. Now don't misunderstand me when I say graze the bottom or hit the bottom. I'm not saying to pop up. If you pop up, you're not doing it right. I think I've told you guys the story of Hank Aaron. When I met him, it actually wasn't for the first time, but I saw what he was doing around lunch when I came into Atlanta, and we were playing the Braves one day, and I came in about noon, and I walk up the concourse and I hear this crack. It's loud. I mean, it was like plywood coming together, and it just smacked. It was just a loud sound. So I wanted to see what it was, some construction or something. So I go up and I peek my head at him, and it's the hammer. It's Henry Aaron. He's about 65 years old. He's taking batting practice off of one of the guys, throwing in batting practice at noon, hitting home runs, just crack, one after another. So I walk down there, I'm just laughing because he's smoking balls. I mean, he's hitting them as far as we did, And I said, so what are you thinking right now? Like, what do you do? What's your, obviously he's had time to simplify so that live BP for him is probably like hitting soft toss. So I said, so what's the one thing you're thinking of right now? And he goes, I just see the ball and I try to tip the bottom of the ball. Just tip it, just barely hit it. And I thought, wow, you're trying to tip the ball and I'm trying to hit the thing. But it made me think that, because when you're hitting low line drives off a tee and, it's ending up this high, that is not going to even get out of the infield grass. You may be hitting it right, and you may be even hitting it right like a line drive, but it's not high enough to be considered, quote, a line drive, because a line drive is defined as something that reaches at least the lip of the outfield grass. So that's enough of that. But that was his expression, hit the bottom of the ball. But if he were to pop it up, he wouldn't complain and say, oh, I did what Hank Aaron said and it's wrong. Well, it's not wrong. It's just that you have to understand that what he's saying, he's on plane, and that he's got a lot of chances to hit that ball, and he just kind of grazes the bottom half. If you pop it up, you got to get more of the ball. If you hit it too low, you get less of the ball. So you just do, it's like the radio dial, the analog radio. You go up to the radio station, and once you get to it, you go past it and then come back so you know exactly where you want to go on that radio dial. That's how it is with hitting, same thing. So anything top hand, and then with the understanding that you're lacking inertia, and if he wants to maintain a no stride, then he's got to get some kind of a free fall. There has to be some place where he lets everything go. It's here and he lets go to get the pop, the trampoline effect, so that you're not just gliding slowly into your front leg and then you shift slowly. You're not going to get the effect of the torque where the bat falls in, and you're really going to feel the need to get more back here. Okay, so number one, we're going to eliminate the need for more. Okay. Number two, we're going to get his elbow in a position where it's going to be more direct, and he's going to feel his arm coming around his body in a clean way. Number 3, going into the zone, it's going to be a better angle for the barrel to fall this way, and it falls because your inertia allows it to fall. You carry it at this angle. We carry it upright so that we can carry this vast amount of weight compared to like a baseball's 60 pounds, well, a bat's hundreds of pounds, and as we swing it. So we can bring all this weight through our zone, and we can do it at this angle. There's no weight here, right? But if you bring a bat at this angle, there's more weight. So vertical, there's less weight. And that's the idea. When you're holding it vertical, there's less weight. Plus, it's the perfect position to get the barrel to begin in a direction that's pure. If it's flat, it's going to want to go this way for sure. You know, or if it's at whatever angle it's at, it's going to want to go in that angle. And if that's not the pure angle, I mean, if it begins here, it's going to have to go this way a little bit, or blend of a little bit of both angles. So a more vertical angle gives it that ability to fall in a real pure thing if you let it. So you have to feel it. You have to practice it. You have to practice that barrel as you're going forward. That's why a tall and fall drill is so good. If you can just feel the barrel just going where it wants to go. Here it is. You just feel where it's going. And this bat is obviously really light because it's a plastic bat. So, but I can feel the barrel even on a plastic bat. Hold it, and I can just feel it. I just kind of let it go. I get to about here, and then I just let it go, and then it goes where it wants to go. You know, and then as soon as I can feel where it's going, as soon as I can feel it establish the slot, the shoulder slot, then of course I take control of it again and just allow it to come at the angle that I need it to go on. So exercising the drill, whether it's throwing the bat, you know, how would I, you know, would I throw it by going like that? No, probably not. I'd probably just connect it with my body. I just connect it with my body and throw it, right? I'd use my weight. Sure, I might go like that if I wanted to throw it really hard, but I would know that I would lose accuracy. It's like swinging a hammer with the nail, an example I use all the time. If I were to tell you, hit the nail as hard as you can, you would know that I meant, or that I was inferring, that as hard as you can without bending the nail. So in this case, you have to keep that in mind, and then he has to know that you know, you have to hit a ball being thrown by someone who's trying to make it impossible for you to hit it. You know, you're hitting a round ball, round bat kind of scenario. So you want to keep it as quiet as you can. So if you're moving, as you're moving forward, that's enough movement that you need. That's all you need, because to get your bat moving, you just need a little forward movement, and then your arms will come in place, and yet it will appear that you're doing this a little bit. You know, if I'm coming here and I go like that, it looks like I'm doing something, but to execute what I do, you don't actually go like that. You go forward, and as I'm going forward, my arm is straightening out. My arm is straightening out, so it may look that way, but it's straightening out because you want to bar out when you have inertia. Go ahead and bar out when you have inertia. When you don't have inertia, you don't want to bar out. So in his case, he's kind of, you know, he's not completely barring out, but it's the same effect. You're going like this, and you have no energy associated with it. So the heavier the bat, the harder you're going to have, and then you're basically kind of doing an arm swing. So he's going to have a problem with his angles on the ball. He's going to have a problem adding this to his timeline until he starts to get the feel of what he would do. Now, you're probably asking the last question, well, how, once he does this drill, how's he going to take it into the game? You know, once he swings the bat, you know, practices one-arm swings and starts to feel his inertia and really start to feel the bat go back as well and finish low. Once he feels like he's hitting some one-hand balls off this, you know, one-hand toss accurately, throwing up the ball and hitting it is one way to keep you from winding up, because you're not going to be able to hit it consistently. And if you can't take a ball, throw it up, and hit it accurately, what you'll see that most young players is they'll throw a ball up and they just flail at it. They're not coming at all at it like a hammer and a nail. They're not, I mean, it's so far from that. And you see that they're coming through, every swing is at a different angle. And it's frustrating as a coach because you know they don't see the big picture. They're not seeing the nail going bing and flying across the room, and you have to go grab another nail. And then they go bing again, they come at it at another angle. You know they're not seeing that. So you have to get that across to them so that they understand it. You can be creative. I mean, you can grab a bat. One of the things that I do is I hold one of these in my hand a lot of times, and the other guy has one, and he goes ahead and hits it, and I kind of hold it like this, and then I let it slide through my hand, and I just kind of let him hit it like this. Bam. I call this walking whack-a-mole. Sideways, boom. Sideways walk, sideways, bam, and you hit it. You try to hit it accurately. But you only hit it, you just hit it with a nice easy smack, and then it hits it, and I'm just holding it, and I'm just walking back, and hits it, and hits it. So that's a great thing for a coach. I'll have to show you that drill, but anyways, I think that covers it. I think you kind of have my, you can hear my heart on this, and you can see, because he's not free falling was the last thing. Try to get him to get into some sort of a free fall, even if it's just an inch of free fall, because you can let the ball travel from release and let it travel a quarter of the way while you're under control, and then maybe when it's halfway you fall an inch and let it get to where it needs to be, and then you pop. But you have to have that free fall. Okay, I hope that helps.